Welcome to Bourbon Sauce. We've got Ryan and myself, Dan. For those of you who don't know, we're back with another episode for you. And this one, we're going to talk about the service industry and some of our good and bad experiences with it. But before we get into that, Ryan, why don't you tell the people what you are sipping on?
So, in honor of talking about good and bad experiences in the service industry, I went with Redemption Bourbon because, you know, we always like to give a place a second chance at redemption, right? So, it's distilled in Indiana, and then it's actually bottled by Redemption Barrel Selections in Bardstown, Kentucky. Interesting flavor. It's I think it's like 21% rye, 70-some% corn.
Ooh, a rye one.
So it's
Yeah, it's a rye one. Nice.
over ice. It's actually
Mellows it out?
it's very mellow,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get a little bit of a bite at the end. It's not super rye like some of the others we've had.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Well, I went with Doc Swinson's Alter Ego because sometimes when you have bad service, your alter ego or Hulk comes out, and it's kind of inevitable that you're going to snap on somebody. But it's a triple cask. I've had this before, I think, on one of the other episodes way back in the day. But it's a straight bourbon whiskey finished in sherry and cognac casks. And this one, it's growing on me. You know, when I first got it, I wasn't really fond of it. But I feel like the more we drink bourbon, the more diverse my palate is becoming and looking for different flavors versus just like your run-of-the-mill bourbons that we typically drink.
Right, I noticed that with that Woodford you surprised me with.
Right.
Yeah.
It's weird. So I like it. It's you know, and today I cooked some steak and some scallops and stuff for dinner. And so I figured that this was going to be a pretty good pairing for that, which it was.
Yeah, I've noticed you've started exploring over into pairing it with your foods, and
Yeah.
that seems to be a pretty good, because it definitely changes the flavor profile.
Yeah, for sure. And then I feel like it also enhances the food taste for me. You know, just like if you were to do a wine pairing with, like, you know, white for fish and red for steaks or whatever.
Right.
I feel like it has a similar effect with the bourbon. If I use a bourbon that has been finished differently, whether it's been in a wine cask or something like that, it pairs really good with the steak. I mean, normal bourbon does too, but
Right.
it just seems to go a little bit better just because it gives that little zing
Yep.
of the red.
I can understand that.
But so with that said, and everybody is probably like, yeah, okay, get on with it. We've gone out a lot to eat in Clarksville, Nashville, Dixon, surrounding areas, Ashland City, Guthrie, back to the property out there,
Yep.
Corbin, I mean, fucking Barberville, all that shit, right?
Yep.
What stands out to you for good service?
So for me, I guess good service for me is polite, cheerful. You're attentive to the customer. My drink is never empty per
Right.
se, right? You're getting me refills. You're checking to see if I need anything, but you're not like smothering me, right? So you're just routinely checking. You're observant. Oh, their drinks are almost empty. Let me go check on them.
How do you think that translates to like other service industries? Like, I don't know, like you go to a sporting goods store or a grocery store or any other service industries place. Do you look for that
So-
similar like thing when you're at a place?
No, so like when I go into, let's say I go into Target or Walmart, but I say I go into any of them, like I don't need your assistance. Like
Right.
I want you to leave me alone. Let me get in there, get what I need to get to the register. Once I get to the register, I despise self checkout. I am a firm believer if I'm going through self checkout, then you might as well just go ahead and pay me because I'm not a cashier.
Right.
Like
But you like to have lower price goods.
yeah, but
so you have that scale of economy that you got to deal with when these companies start.
you know though,
you know,
there's no my goods haven't gotten cheaper with self checkout.
So here's the thing, right? As we've all paid attention, the minimum wage has gone up,
Yes.
or they've been trying to make it go up.
Yep.
So you see at like fast food places has been the most prevalent after Walmart to go ahead and give you your own kiosk to put in your own order and stuff like that.
Right.
The reason they do that is to offset that cost to the consumer. So if they would have had those employees, which is going to suck for a lot of people because they're going to be out of jobs at some point and they're going to start complaining about not having job availability, but it's going to keep the cost of goods at a nominal level based on the economy. Had they not done that and they're paying all those people that are looking for a minimum wage to be something that sustains a fucking family of 3 or 4, when that's not what minimum wage was set up to do anyway, well, now that has to get passed on to consumer. And so your goods that you get at Walmart would go up. I don't know what the percentage would be, but it would definitely go up to offset that because the company is not going to absorb that. In as many billions of dollars as these companies make off of people, they're greedy.
So what you're saying, bottom line, is it's not to benefit the customer; it's to benefit the company.
Yes and yes.
There's nothing about
it does benefit the
customer benefit.
It benefits you because the cost of your goods don't go up.
But it does. It just doesn't go up as much as you say it would, right? But there's still such a significant up jump that nobody even thinks about the fact that, okay, this could go up another 10% or 20% over cost if they added an actual cashier. But then I go into Kroger and I buy my groceries cheaper or same price as Walmart and I get a cashier. So,
But
it's
Walmart struggles because they also have like fucking 50 goddamn registers,
but
they
there's
only
no one
have
ever there.
they
Right.
have like
There's
three
nobody
people
ever there.
3 people there. And so it's like, why have that many registers in your establishment if you're not going to utilize them and you're just going to use the self-checkout? But I think, to my point, is that they originally intended to have people in those spots, but because of the minimum wage hike, they're like, well, in order to keep our price point where it needs to be, we can't have 50 people 3 shifts a day and not increase the price of our products because they're getting it from China, they're getting it from Korea and Taiwan and wherever else they're outsourcing it from Walmart stuff to keep the cost low to begin with.
But for instance, Walmart's not even 24 hours anymore.
No, not around here. I know some other places they still are.
They went back?
Yeah.
But a lot of them aren't even 24 hours anymore, so you're down to 2 shifts, right?
Well, and I think COVID, had a big play in that.
Oh, it gave them a good reason for it.
It gave them the out of, like, oh, well, I guess we don't need 24-hour service. Fuck the people that work at night.
Right.
That, working the midnight shift or the grave shift or whatever. Guess you're just going to have to suffer and wake up in the middle of the day.
100%.
Go shopping.
But what I've also noticed with the self-checkout, right, is the systems always mess up and you're waiting on somebody to come check something or waiting on somebody to approve something.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've only got one person working 10 self-checkouts and 10 people are buying booze or tobacco, now that person's doing laps back and forth or they're having to check IDs and they're having to scan. And you'll see the self-checkout line looks like it's a mile long.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, what is the point of this?
Well,
and I can't tell you how many times I've seen it firsthand.
Right.
And also, I guarantee you it happens everywhere. People just move it across, but it didn't scan and it goes in a bag. I guess that's people
that's an integrity
factoring in their, but I guess that's people factoring in their pay as the cashier.
Maybe, but I still feel like that's a.
It's definitely an integrity thing, and
right.
A lot of people don't have integrity.
Right. And I think that's the biggest problem with a lot of that self-checkout is there's a lot more theft that occurs, which at some point, I don't know how they're going to figure that out, but I'm sure there's going to be some sort of like scale that weighs your cart and knows as soon as you pull up that there's X amount of weight in there, and based on whatever you scan, it'll deduct that weight off and it'll know, okay, well, you missed an item or you scanned an item too much or, what I mean? at some point they're going to come up with more biometrics to figure out a way.
I mean, it's getting similar at restaurants now, right? You go in
Mhm.
and they want you to. Some of these restaurants I've gone in, they don't bring you a menu. They want you to order from like the little tablet kiosk at your table, and
Yeah.
then like the waitress will bring you your drinks and bring out your food.
Right.
But there's no real interaction. They don't take your order anymore. At some of these places I've been in, and then you pay right there at the kiosk.
Yeah.
And then if something's not right, then you're waiting on a manager. You're waiting on this because then they have to go and change it all.
I think Chili's and Applebee's were the first restaurants that I remember that went to the kiosk thing at the table. And part of it was to have like entertainment for the kids
Right.
because there's like silly little games on there.
And a lot of people don't even use that.
No. But it was a good idea. Like the intent, I could see the intent behind it, trying to help entertain the kids while they're waiting for their food. That's going to take forever because most of those places, the service is slow.
Right. And I get it for the trivia too, because you can actually pay in your whole table, sit there and play trivia. Well, and I get that part.
Yeah.
But why do I want to sit here and punch in on a kiosk at a sit-down restaurant and order?
Yeah.
Because for me, part of the experience is dealing with that waiter or waitress, right? And giving my order and interacting with people.
I'd be curious to see how places like Dick's Last Resort are going to evolve with this whole AI thing with, the kiosks and whatever.
I don't know that they would change it really because that takes out the whole experience.
Right. I would hope not. But maybe they'll have like a robot that comes up and it has like an animated face and it's like, "You're a dickhead,"
Right. But that's like that would be like Twin Peaks or Hooters or Tilted Kilt being like
those places.
You're just going to deal with a kiosk now. We're not going to have a waitress, you're not going to have anything, and then somebody will carry your food out and set it down.
Yeah, those places are meant for the like pervert single man.
I mean, not even that. Like you'll go in some of them and you'll see a full family in there.
Yeah, which I don't understand. Like, why the hell would you want to bring your small? I mean,
we went to trivia night at Hooters and there was a full table of nothing but women there for trivia night. So
yeah, that was strange too. But I understood what they were doing. They were just trying to get the gift card or whatever. But still, why? If their husbands like it, or maybe they.
Hey, no one to judge. Not judging.
It was just interesting to see that.
Some people like going. Some people like food. Some people like the atmosphere. So
I like all the TVs.
I like the fact that you can watch like 20 different things at one time.
Yeah. That's my favorite thing about sports bars in general is the fact that you have access to all that. So again, when people are complaining about the price of their food at those places, it's like, okay, well, look at what you're getting here with the atmosphere.
They're covering the cost of all those.
Now, if your service
TVs
sucks,
and everything
that's a
else,
different
right.
story. Or like we've been places and the food is terrible.
Yep.
They've botched it one way or another. And then, unfortunately for the server, they have to go back and try to, rectify that. And then you don't want to penalize the server because it's not their fault. It's the kitchen's fault.
Yeah, very rarely has it actually been the server's fault.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of times where it's been the server's fault.
Sure.
But majority of the time it is not on the server. They've put
Yeah.
in my order correctly, and it's just not been done right.
Right. Because there is those occasions when they'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I rung it up as, whatever." And you're like, "All right, no big deal. Just fix it, please."
Yeah, like for instance, the other night at Wing Wednesday, I paid for yours.
Yeah. But, we switched tabs apparently.
Uh-huh.
You paid $4 more than what you would have paid.
Technically I would have paid more because she
Yeah.
applied my discount to yours. And you didn't get a discount.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
That was user error. That was a good example.
that was a good example.
Right?
She's just very distracted.
Yep.
Clearly.
You're very distracting.
I am. I like to talk to them while they're doing stuff, and I probably should stop doing that because when they need to focus, that's the last point in time when I should be
Right?
bothering them. But
I would say, though, a good redemption story for both of us was, what is it, Liberty Grill?
yeah.
Yeah, we went before the Brews for the Braves.
Yeah.
And
turned
had
out
lunch,
all
and I was very impressed compared to previous experiences.
Now, I don't know if they've had a change in management or overturn in who is in the kitchen or otherwise, but clearly it's improved because I was there today for I I got a drink, but that bartender that is there, she's okay. She's funny, but she disappears a lot, which is a problem.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you have one job. You should be at the bar. Not
Right.
wherever, playing on your phone or whatever. But the food definitely was better this last time we went versus times before. But then again, all I got was a chicken salad.
And I got the
So it's hard to
I
fuck
got
that
the
up.
grilled chicken wrap, and you can totally destroy grilled chicken. But
Right.
it was very tender, very juicy. The wrap was good. The fries were good and fresh.
Yeah, unlike the other night, you got some stale fries. That was pretty funny.
Oof.
I still have those wings in the fridge. I'm probably not gonna eat those though.
I
The
will
ghost
say,
pepper ones are not my favorite. I thought I remember differently, but I was probably intoxicated the last time I got those ones.
it's a very good chance. Very
But
good chance.
they're okay. They're just more peppery than savory. Like they're just unbelievably bleh.
Well, they're
flavor-wise.
ghost pepper, so it's peppery.
I know, but it's like it's like eating peppercorn peppery.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like
that's okay on like jerky and stuff for the pepper jerky if you
Right.
do that, but
but I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting it to have that
Right.
kind of peppery.
and it throws it off.
It throws it off to my brain.
So did you know? So you already probably know this, that I guess it's like the national wage for a server was $2.13.
Mhm.
But
It's now like-
most states have tried to bring it up, but that's still the actual legal amount.
Yeah, I think some places it's like $7 now or something.
So I was researching and on ZipRecruiter,
Uh-huh.
because you can go in and find all kinds of jobs on
Yeah, yeah.
ZipRecruiter, right? That it averages now anywhere from $5.70 some cents
Mhm.
an hour to upwards in some places $28 and some odd cents an hour
Holy
as,
shit.
as a waiter. Or
Now, if
waitress.
they're doing the $28, I bet you they're sharing the tips across the wait staff and everybody
that,
else. You know what I mean?
or they could just be lumping bartenders and all that into the serving staff, right?
Mm.
They could be considering all that as a serving staff because, I mean, technically as a bartender, you still are a server. You're
Right.
just the bartender.
No, that makes sense.
So-
I think they should start giving bartenders a little bit more, despite the fact that they get a tip, because there's some nights when it's really fucking slow, and they get like $50 for the night.
Well, technically, most bartenders do make more because, one, you're one of them making the drinks for all your waitresses or
You're
waiters.
supposed to get
right?
tipped out.
So they are supposed to tip you out.
Supposed to.
Supposed to, right? And then, like, for instance, in Japan, you know it's an insult to tip?
Yes, I do know that.
Yeah.
A lot of companies, a lot of places overseas, it's frowned upon to tip,
Mhm.
and a lot of times they just kind of wrap it into the cost of everything.
Right.
Um,
So they get a normal wage.
so they get a normal wage, which
Right.
I would be more appreciative, I think, if we did went that way here in the U.S. Because then even when you have the cheapskates out there, that wait staff is still gonna get their wage according to the effort and hours that they put in for the week, versus like you get some of these people that are just total cheapskates and are like, you get $100 bill on, and they give them $2. You know what I mean?
So did you know now, like, say you go to Sonic?
Yeah.
You can now actually tip at Sonic. It
Can you?
actually comes up at the end of your bill to tip if you want when you're paying.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I've started noticing, like Taco Bell, McDonald's, you can't, right?
Yeah.
But Sonic started doing it, and some of the other fast food places have started allowing it,
I saw
especially if they're bringing it out to you and serving it.
I saw a funny video the other day on TikTok. No, not TikTok. I don't do TikTok. It was Instagram. And the guy was in uniform, and he was walking by somebody, and he was like, "Thanks for your service." And he was like, "Oh, thank you." And he turned around and like had like an app that said tip or something like that.
Yeah.
It made me chuckle because that's the way our society is now. There's like tip jars everywhere, right?
Right.
At Starbucks, at McDonald's, everywhere that somebody is in the service industry, they just feel like they are entitled to some sort of a
Like,
extra tip.
I can understand it. Like, you go to Subway, right? They build
Right.
your sandwich for you. I can understand giving them a tip.
Eh,
You don't have to,
right.
but I can understand it if you want to. If it's
Yeah.
$1, $2, whatever, right? Because it's not like they necessarily make a whole lot,
No,
especially in smaller
Well-
towns and stuff. right? You
Yeah.
get to California and these bigger cities, and they make
Well,
more.
they make more, but the cost of living is more, so
Correct.
it's equivalent to
Right.
same as here. You know what I mean?
So I mean, I can understand it a little.
A little.
But
A
at the
little.
same time, I do agree with you that there are places that have just gone super overboard with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get some of these places that now they sneak in the gratuity, and you're like, excuse me.
Now I do agree with the places when it's like a group of 10 or more, it's automatically lumped in
Yes.
because that just kind of saves from having to do the math, I guess.
Yeah.
And it also ensures because 10 people or more, I mean, fuck that waitress, waiter, they're moving.
Yes.
That many people to refill drinks and make sure that their entrees are there and appetizers and everything else. I mean,
Right.
I worked in the service industry when I was a teenager, so I know it fucking sucks. Some days you're just like, man, like if you have a bad day, service industry is not the place to have any sort of off day because
No, not at all.
it's gonna affect your bottom dollar by the end of the day, and you're just like, fuck.
One thing I do believe as in the service industry, if you're in it, I guess the one thing I feel like should be known when you get on shift is if it's not posted, you should ask, what are we out of?
Oh yeah.
And what are the specials?
How many times have we been somewhere and we order something? They're like, oh yeah, we're 86 on that.
Yeah. And
Which,
then
for
you
those who
order
don't
something
know,
else.
86 is a industry thing of we're out of it.
Yeah, and then you order something else, and they're like, "Okay," and they leave and come back. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have that either. I think we went somewhere and they went like 4 times with you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're out of that.
And
Yeah,
I'm
we're
like,
out of that.
Okay, well, tell me what you do have.
Yeah,
Because that's why I got to the point where I was like, all right, I'm done guessing what you do have. Just
Right.
let me know what you have so then I can order accordingly and then life will be fine. But
like I went in one place and I was like, "Hey, so what's your special for the day?" And I'll be back.
yeah.
Leaves and is gone for like 10 minutes. Comes back. So we have this and this and this is the special today, and I think one of them was like a grilled salmon with asparagus and something else. And I'm like, I'll have that. Okay. Goes and puts in my order, comes back. Yeah, we don't have that.
Mm.
I'm like,
Why would you tell me about it then?
why would you tell me you have it
Yeah.
if you don't have it?
That's so upsetting because like you might have your heart set on having that item, whatever it is, and then you're like kind of like excited about getting it,
Right.
and then they come back and it's like devastating. You're like, oh.
Like I get somebody
I have
might
to
have beat
think-
me to the order. Like I get that, or
But
you might have just
still.
run out.
It's like,
But know your stuff.
come on, man. Because there's nothing worse, I think, than say you want a prime rib, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of restaurants, they only have so much. They have a finite amount of prime rib that they're going to serve.
Yeah.
And then they run out. And that's why a lot of them, like, we have it one day a week, like Thursday, or we have it on Friday or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you go in and you're all excited. You're like, yeah, I'm going to get a fucking prime rib. And then they come back and they're like, oh, I'm sorry. We ran out like an hour ago. What do you mean an hour? That was before I even got here. And
Like,
nobody told you you're out.
Like, I'm sorry. Can I
Like,
get you something
You
else?
should probably put that at the front door, like, hey, by the way, we're out of prime rib if you're here for the prime rib for today. And then I think they don't do that. And this is the only reason why I think they don't do it, because they're anticipating you're going to order something else and still get your money,
Right.
which is,
I mean, I have gone in somewhere and ordered
shitty, but
something, right?
I
And
get
then they're like, well, we're out of that. And I'm like, okay, bye.
yeah.
But
I've definitely
it's-
been in places where the service took too long
Yep.
to even come to the table. And,
And
I was
I've
just
got up
like,
and left. Yep.
yeah. And I've gotten up and I'm like, fuck this. I'm out. I'm way too fucking hungry.
And one
and
thing,
hangry to wait.
I would say one thing, like probably one of my biggest pet peeves with that stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it's my pet peeve. It's my prerogative. I'm paying for it. So,
Sure.
if you bring my food and it is cold,
Oh,
lukewarm, stale,
yeah.
or not the way I ordered it, I'm politely asking the wait staff to take it back and get it done correctly.
Yeah.
And
you
then
do, you do.
if it comes back that way a second time, okay, you can just take it back and just forget it. I'm good, thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate your effort. It's not on you. They just don't want to cook it right.
Yesterday, you made the folly, or by the time this post, it'll be 2 days ago, but You ate half of the fries.
Yeah,
They
I was just hungry, so
They
it just
weren't even
didn't
good.
matter. It didn't even matter. I was just hungry. But normally I would have been like, this ain't right,
Yeah.
and I don't want it. But I was hungry and I just didn't care at
And
that
that's
point.
usually like I am usually guilty of that. Like I will eat
Yeah.
whatever because I'm just fucking hungry at that point. I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? I don't want to wait how many ever fucking minutes again till
Mhm.
you bring me out my entree. I'm just gonna eat it. I'm gonna suffer through it. Like I've eaten a lot of shitty food in the military. I can literally eat canned dog food.
Yeah. Alpo's not that bad. I've
It's
tried it.
really not. And I've had dog snacks and everything.
I mean, at some point you're gonna try it. Sober, intoxicated, whichever, you're gonna try it.
I'm just saying I can pretty much eat anything and tolerate it and just kind of grunt through it.
Right.
And they're just gonna know at the end. I'm like, hey, this was fucked up. I'm still gonna tip you, but just let the kitchen know they fucked up.
Hot sauce fixes a lot of things.
Yeah, but it doesn't fix cold food.
No, it does not. Especially if that food is not meant to be cold.
So if the food's cold and you're like
Cold steak is not fun.
I don't mind cold steak.
I don't mind cool steak. I don't want cold steak.
Like because I get a lot of rare steaks, and it's got sometimes a cold center.
I get that.
It's supposed to be a cool center.
Yes, and I get that, but your outside's kind of warm, right?
Right.
Kind of hot because it's just come off the grill, right? But if I get it
Mhm.
and that whole steak is cold, you're wrong. You're wrong. Because that's not how it's
when you
designed
go
to
to
be.
Subway, do you get the
Well, I can't do steak anymore, anyways.
well when you did go to Subway before your Alpha Gal thing?
Yeah.
When you got like the steak from
Like
Subway,
the Philly.
yeah, they call it a Philly. I
Yeah,
don't call it a Philly. I
it's
just call it
not.
the steak sandwich.
Yeah.
Do you always get it toasted or microwaved?
I get it toasted.
Because there's times when I won't.
So I can
And-
eat that cold. That's easy peasy,
Still-
right?
It's still
But-
steak.
But that's like shredded. It's different. It's the way it's
Yeah.
cut. I'm talking like a nice cut chunk of steak.
Yeah.
I don't care for it because when it gets like actual like refrigerator cold,
Mhm.
it tends to get super chewy, and
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
care for that.
Because I can eat it cold personally.
I mean, I can eat it. I just
because
don't
I've done
want
it
to.
on salads, because I don't
Yeah.
want you. I normally don't want like hot steak on my salad because then the salad gets all wilty.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So like even with chicken, I don't want hot chicken on my salad. Like I don't want hot salmon on my salad. I don't want hot shrimp on my salad. Like if it's a salad, it's supposed to be in my mind. It's supposed to be cold. So I'm anticipating whatever ingredients is in that is going to be cold.
So see, you're the person I see at the restaurant, and I'm thinking, if you want a salad and salmon, then you order your salmon and eat the salad on the side. That's my mind thought on that.
Yeah, but I don't want it that way.
I know.
I want cold salmon on top of my salad
Right,
because I like sushi and sushi's cold.
right, and I understand that.
So
But for me, I'm like, I want my chicken to be hot because
Right.
it's supposed to be,
yeah,
right? And for me, if I ordered at a restaurant,
yeah.
that salad should be fresh, and then you've literally just dropped the chicken on it.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than you get a salad and it's been sitting in a warming window
Ooh.
and your salad is now warm.
No, thank you. That lettuce should be crisp and refreshing with every bite.
I've been to a few places here in Clarksville. I'm not going to name them. I'm not going to dime them out. But the salad would come out and it's wilty because it's been sitting in the warming window so long. I'm
Mhm.
like, what the ass? Like, how are you going to bring this to me as a server and think that that's okay? Like you had to have seen, and you could feel the plate has got to be warm. It's like, would you eat it? Because that's the way when I was going through the service industry back in the day. It was always like before you serve it to somebody, look at it.
Right.
If it doesn't look right, you damn sure aren't going to take it to the table. Because one, that's an embarrassing thing for you to deal with if they are like, what the fuck is like if they get irate because it happens. People get crazy. And their alter ego comes out, and they flip out, and they're like, "What the fuck is this?" So it's like a little bit of prevention,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you look at it and you go, "Okay, well this isn't right." Like, I know this isn't right. This is don't take it out to the table.
I actually had that happen once. Like, my food never came. And my waitress had refilled my drink like 2 or 3 times at this point.
They had some
And
girls
then
like that.
I was like, do you happen to know where my food is? Because the other few people at the table had gotten their food, which I'm okay with, like, other people getting their food as it becomes ready.
Yeah.
Because
sometimes some shit cooks quicker. You know?
right. So I get that. Why should their food sit under a warmer?
Yeah, like if they ask for chicken tenders and you ask for a pizza,
right.
Obviously the pizza's gonna take longer.
Now I get it. If it started to where it's only going to be like a minute difference, cool, got it.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Where's my food?" She's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I've meant to tell you that I sent it back. It wasn't correct."
Well,
I'm like,
shit.
okay. I'm like, thank you. So she got a bigger tip.
Right, for being honest, and
she was honest, and she took
sure
the initiative to make sure my food was right before it even came to me.
that is literally one of the biggest things that I get upset with these days is with the service industry. I feel like it's getting worse as the younger generation gets into it.
It's called entitlement.
And I feel like this is normal for people as they age. Whatever generation is behind them, they probably have a similar complaint about them not doing it the way that they were raised or the way that they did it or the way it was supposed to be done or whatever. It's just I feel like we're at the point now, a tipping point where it's just going to be this is the norm. Shitty service is the norm.
Yeah. Well, it's like, for instance, so that Mexican place back near the property.
Uh-huh.
I know the only place that serves alcohol. So I went in one day for lunch and ordered a tall beer and ordered, just simple taco salad. And, well, there's this older couple that comes in and sits at the bar just a few seats down from me. We're the only 3 people at the bar. And it's this younger, dark-haired kid. You've seen him in there a few times.
Mm-hmm.
He's a real pessimist. Like,
okay.
Super pessimistic.
Yeah. Well, he was probably sitting at the bar before last time he was there.
And he comes up and he's getting their stuff and starts briefly talking to them. And, like, everything they said, he was, like, a pessimist about. They're like, we're just driving through and seeing the sights and stuff, blah, blah, blah. And we got a hotel room here in town, which there's only one hotel there. And he's like, yeah, you should have just stayed in Corbin, or, it's much better and there's more to do. He's like, there's nothing here and this place sucks. And I'm listening.
Poo-pooey.
Like, I'm very poo-pooey, and I'm listening and I'm trying to eat my food. And finally I stop. Like, he's gone on for 10 minutes and I stop eating my food. And I put my fork down. And I look at him and I was like, look, dude. I said, if you're going to be that pessimistic over this town while I'm eating my food, I was like, you're literally upsetting my stomach right now listening to your negativity. Can you take your negative Nanciness and just go on?
Well, and you're what they would consider a local.
Yes.
So you have an invested interest in that place because you have a different, I want to say, memory of the way it was when you were a kid, and you have a lot of good memories and ties and stuff. So when you start hearing somebody talk negatively about that, I think that's natural.
Well,
to get a little defensive about it.
Kind of, like, I agree. Like, there's nothing
but
there,
that's not
right?
his place to fucking poo-poo. Like, you're in the service industry, you should be amping up that local area.
And then he even mentioned, like, they got more restaurants and stuff. And I'm like, dude, you're literally serving them food and alcohol at a restaurant you work for.
So it's just kind of funny because you hear that in those smaller towns more than I think you do in a bigger area. And it's like the people that just couldn't get out, so they're bitter.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you gotta bring everyone else down just because you're fucking salty that you don't like the fact that you're stuck in this town and you can't go nowhere.
So he got snippy, and then as he went away.
Oh,
but he got
snippy with you?
Yeah, he got snippy, but he went away while getting snippy. So I was like, cool, whatever. I finished my food, and then after I finished my food, he comes back. My beer's pretty much empty. He's like, he's like, would you like a refill? I'm like, no, but I would like my check.
Right.
And he brings me my check. I pay with cash, and he's like, do you need change? I'm like, yes. So he brings me back all my change.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think I did?
You left him the spare change?
I left a fucking penny.
Oh, you complained about that girl that did that.
No, she did it because she was just being spiteful and mean. I did it because you don't get sass with me when I'm trying to tell you not to be an asshole when you got customers.
Isn't that still the same thing? Isn't
Big
that
difference
Still,
because she was doing it because she was jealous that the waitress was being nice and thought she was being flirty. That's being rude. That's being rude.
There's a gray area.
I mean, there is a gray area. But also at the same time, you're not going to be a shitbag and be a server or service, in service
Yeah,
around me. Like, it's just rude. Like,
Yeah,
he did nothing to warrant much of a tip anyways.
Hmm.
Like, somebody else brought my food
Yeah. If I'm gonna
while
be
he
an
sat at a
asshole
table and
as a
played on
tip,
his phone.
Like if I want to make a point for a tip, I'm just leaving 0.
Oh, no.
I don't go the effort of leaving you any spare change or anything. It's just a big 0. You
But
see a big
see,
0.
the good part about it is there was no effort because I picked up every single dollar and just let the 1 penny that was the difference roll off the dollar.
Yeah.
So it was easy. There was no effort.
Yeah, I get it.
But it made my point.
Yeah.
The next time I went in there, he was very optimistic. whether he was faking it or not. Because, I mean, sometimes you do need an eye-opener.
And sometimes.
Like, I am a genuinely happy person. Like, to the point people at work are like, you disgust me with how happy you are sometimes.
Yeah, I guess.
So it kind of irks me when people are
funny.
just pessimistic all the time.
I just have a resting bastard face, so people are just like, why are you so angry? I'm like, I'm not. Like, you look angry. I'm like, not.
You're just there to work and get out for the day.
Yeah, I'm just here to fucking do my job and go home. Like, I'll talk to people if they engage, but I'm not going to go out of my way. I used to do that. I used to be like, hey, what's up? How was your day? How was your weekend? How's your kids? How's it, you know what it got me? Nothing.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I'm just going to show up at work, do my job, and then go home.
But
and then I'll save it for like my friends and
Right.
people that we meet at the bar or whatever.
Right.
And then I'll be all like, hey, you know what I mean? Like,
But I also think it's a slight difference between active military and contractor.
there's a big difference.
Right.
I think a lot of people that are in the military, because they are quote unquote stuck, they feel stuck.
Some people, yeah.
Because they couldn't figure out how to get out of the military, so they're stuck there for another 4 years, or they're stuck again. They did another enlistment, and now it's 6 years, or however many how many ever iterations of that stuckness they are. I feel like that builds up their bitterness level because they can't unbury themselves.
I feel like we know somebody mutually that was stuck.
Yeah, for sure. And it happens,
Mhm.
and they just become bitter.
Yes.
And there's no pleasing that person at work. There's no pleasing them at home. There's no pleasing them, as a group of friends.
Right.
They're just that frumpy person, and you're like, what is your deal, man? Like, go somewhere. Figure something out. Like, if you're that miserable, and this goes for any job, if you're that miserable, fucking leave. Go find something.
So that brings up a good question for you.
Yeah.
And then we'll try and get back on topic.
Yeah.
So it got brought up to my attention that there's a big difference in me before September of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like before September of last year is like who I am now. But from September to like June of this year, it was a more borderline depressed, more agitated, more on edge person. And now
because we drink.
No.
Oh.
What happened from September to June of last year? What was I doing 90% of my time? I was teleworking.
Yeah, but also your mom got diagnosed with cancer again, so...
Well, that still happened before September. What they were getting at is the work stuff.
Oh, the people at work said this.
Yes, we're saying this. Yes, like like there was a big change again. Like the person that left in September.
Okay, I misunderstood that question.
Finally came back after June. Like in between that time frame, it was a whole different person.
I misunderstood that question.
Okay, that's my bad.
Fault. I thought you were insinuating something outside of work.
Would you agree that was a thing?
I think that you were happier at work
Mm-hmm.
than being here in the camper or
Yeah.
at home.
Yeah.
Because you're isolated.
Yeah.
So being isolated, that's not who you are. You don't like to be by yourself. You don't like to be. You like to be able to face interact with people.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
100%.
So I can agree to their observation. Yeah, that's why a lot of people, when COVID happened and they had to telework,
Yeah.
there was a giant spike in depression and people getting on medication and everything else like that, because that's not normal to be forced to be isolated.
Right.
And I was happy that it happened, because then I could finally fucking tell people, like, that's what it's like when I'm fucking deployed and I'm stuck in the middle of a goddamn Iraq all by myself and there's nobody
Yes.
else to fucking talk to, and I'm stuck at the same fucking chow hall in the same goddamn room and the same fucking people, and I have no freedom. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
So in some regards, it was great, because then they could understand, like, oh shit, that fucking sucks. Yeah, no shit, it sucks. So now you see
Mhm.
the sacrifice that I make every time I do deploy.
Yep.
Um,
It was definitely an eye opener for people who hadn't dealt with anything like that.
yeah, and I think it was
And it destroyed the service industry. How many businesses
oh my
and
God,
companies just
that-
doors closed?
I feel bad for the
restaurants
mom and
went
pop
out.
places, because they did not fare well at all with that. And,
I really thought Kelly's Burgers was going to go under from it, but
well, they sold.
man-
They sold.
they sold, but I don't know that they sold because of that. So Kelly's Burgers
don't
still
know.
open and running, right?
Yes.
And I went in and I couldn't eat the burgers, but their other food was still really good.
Mm.
And then that's where I learned that you can pay with card now.
Oh yeah.
So, but it's a lot of the mom and pop places gone.
Yeah, it was
But they
obviously
took
there's
a
people out
huge
there
hit.
that are like conspiracy theorists, and they're like, this was an attempt by the government to fucking get rid of mom and pop places and make sure that the big box stores succeeded and blah blah blah. I'm like,
Well, even the big box stores were taking smack hits, right? That's why
They all
if you notice, like Cheddar's, Cracker Barrel, all of them started doing these meals to go, family meals to go, so that you could still get their food and they could still pay staff.
yeah, they had a huge decline. And I just, God, I hope we don't fucking go back to that,
See,
because
I could-
everyone's been rumoring that this next wave of bullshit COVID
Yeah.
is gonna shut down America again. And I'm like, I will get fired.
And see,
I will end up fucking either resigning, or I will get fired. And I can't resign because I need an unemployment check. So I'd have to get fired.
I can remember people being like, this is horrible. This is just, it's destroying everything, and
Mhm.
it's horrible, and it's the country will never be the same again. And it's like, as soon as the pandemic was lifted,
Yep.
it's like
Life started going back to normal.
it's like, hey, dude, you're within 6 feet of me and you're not wearing a mask. Like the very next day, I'm like, wait a minute. And during the pandemic, no one wanted to shake hands. No one
Yep.
had wanted a fist bump, right?
Yep.
The day it lifted, it's like masks gone. People are right back in your bubble.
Yeah, miraculously, I can walk into a restaurant and nobody gives a fuck.
Right.
Weird.
So,
Everybody's fucking dumb for that one. I tried to fight it as long as I possibly could, and then it got to the point where they were threatening to fire me
yeah.
if I didn't comply. And I was like, fine, I'll
Well,
fucking
then,
wear a
like,
mask and I'll
this-
fucking go get a vaccine and whatever else.
This was a great one, right? So, if you're a concealed carry, like a licensed concealed carry, you legally cannot conceal your face.
You're not supposed to.
Legally, you
Right.
cannot.
By
right?
law,
By
you're
law,
not
you
supposed
cannot
to.
conceal your
But
face.
during COVID, it was okay.
During COVID, you were not, right? So, like, you would go into Walmart and stuff, because I did it.
Yeah.
And, like, somebody would be like, you can't come in here. Or like, actually, I can, and I'm going to, because legally, I can't wear a face covering. No,
But-
it's a pandemic. You have to. No,
No.
legally, I cannot wear a face covering. Well, how is that? You're not elderly or sick. It's because I'm concealed carrying,
Yeah.
which I can legally do, and because I'm concealed carrying, I legally can't carry or wear a mask. And then the guy's like, "Well, I need to see it." I'm like, "Actually, you don't need to see shit, buddy.
Right.
Just know that I'm concealed carrying, and I'm going in here for this, this, and this.
Mm.
If you want to know where I'm going."
It was a ridiculous time in America, and I feel shame for anybody that had to deal with that. Um, there will be memes 10 years from now that will
Oh,
be
yeah.
making fun of all of it and be like, "Man, look how stupid these people were. They were wearing masks for some fucking thing that's a survivability of 99%. Fucking idiots." But
One thing I did notice the service industry start doing during that period so
Yeah.
that they could get back going,
mm,
like Shoney's, for instance, off exit 4, right?
Yeah.
Has really good food, surprisingly.
not bad.
Like I didn't do their buffet, right? Obviously, and they had shut the buffet down.
Mhm.
So that brought me to start ordering off their menu because prior to that, I'd never eaten off their menu. It was always the buffet. Their menu items are actually surprisingly really good. But
like-
we would go in and
I like the pancakes.
they would basically set the booths, right?
Boofs.
So they would set this set of booths back to each other.
Yeah.
Instead of across from each other.
Yeah.
And then they would stagger them all the way down to where there were 6 feet in between the booths.
I thought it was pretty funny because, like, you saw all those Lexan, whatever the fuck, plastic
Yeah.
screen fucking
Yep.
window things going up everywhere between people, between booths, between the receptionists, and it's like, oh my
What got me tickled
God.
is when I walked into a bar at a Texas Roadhouse
yeah.
and I went to sit at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bar stool flipped up in between each seat.
I remember.
I'm like,
yeah.
wait a minute. I literally look at the guy to my
Yeah.
right, and I'm like, hey, man. He looks at me, and he's like, hey, man. I'm like, if I cough, is this going to stop it? And he's like, nah, man. If I cough, you're going to get it. And I'm like,
yeah.
I guess we just
Yeah.
need to drink more bourbon because they say bourbon and whiskey cures it. So
Yeah, it was silly.
I'm like, this is definitely not 6 feet.
It was the dumbest thing ever that happened to America.
I'm not saying COVID's not real.
No, it's a real thing. It's
But
just it was stupid the way the reaction was to
Dude,
it.
it definitely
Not to get too
upset-
political or
upset,
fucking anything about it, but
the service
Um,
industry.
service industry
curious.
definitely.
What would be one of your worst experiences in the service industry?
Well, shit. Fucking.
Do we
worst-
even want to talk about the automotive service industry?
I haven't had bad service when it comes to.
I have a great one.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, like recently, I took my car in to the dealership because it was having transmission issues, and they sent me a message saying, "Hey, we found this and this. It's going to cost you roughly $4,000 to repair it. Are you on board with doing it?" And I was like, "Fuck it, why not? You already have the engine out. You already have this out. Just go ahead and do it." And then I show up today, and they were like, "Hey, by the way, you had a warranty, so all that shit was covered under warranty." And I was like, "Whoa."
Hell yeah!
I was like, "That's a fucking win for me, buddy." I was like, "All right, man." I was like, "Thanks, bud." And so that saved me $4,000. And now I was like, "I'm gonna go party." And the guy laughed. He was like, chuckling. But I was like, "No, actually, what I'm probably gonna do is spend it on improving my fucking yard." But when it comes to cars, I've had bad luck picking cars, but I haven't had bad luck with I don't think I've had really bad luck with the service from those dealerships that I've taken them back to get fixed. There might have been times when like I took it and they didn't figure out the first time, and I'm
Right.
like, "Hey, it's still doing it. Give it another try, and they'll figure it out. Maybe on the second or third try."
Right.
But there's not been an instance that I can remember where it was like, there is one. And this was one time I took it to, I had that Land Rover.
Yeah.
And I took it to a place he wasn't authorized. You know what I mean? Like it was just like a
wasn't authorized
normal
mechanic.
run-of-the-mill mechanic
Yep.
who swore he could deal with foreign vehicles. You know the whole story behind that.
Yep.
Like he didn't fix shit. I got here to Tennessee from North Carolina, and I put it in the workshop here, and I started shooting wires and figuring out, oh, well, this is actually bad. Oh, well, this is actually bad. Oh, well, this is actually bad. And replaced all those little individual components and then got everything running the way it was supposed to. And I was like, what the fuck, man? I paid that guy like probably $3,000
To do nothing.
to do absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He changed out one sensor, I think, and it didn't fix the issue for that. I had to actually do more work to figure it out. And then the light thing, he didn't. Like, there was a ton of shit. But that's the only time I can remember that I had bad service results from like an automotive thing.
See, and for me, I really have had no bad issues for service up until about end of October of last year, when the GMC had to go in for a ECM.
Right.
100% knew it was ECM. Okay. It goes in, well, then it sets and it waits till March of this year to get the part. Well, come to find out, oh, wait, we don't have the tool for the part because you need a dual channel something Smitho, Benford 1000 tool time tool, right?
That's like
right?
Benford.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
a Benford,
Tim the Toolman Taylor?
Yeah, it's a Benford 1000, dual channel, right? So, okay, cool. Well, this goes on and on and on and on and on, right? We are in August, coming up on a year.
Yep.
My vehicle is still sitting in their service department parking lot, waiting on a tool from corporate, and they have no timeline of when it will ever arrive. I can't trade the vehicle.
How do they not have a timeline? That blows my mind.
I can't have a. They won't give me a loaner because of their insurance stuff nowadays. They can't do that.
Can't you just reach out to the corporate and like
tried that? Got nothing. Right. So they don't call. They won't call me back when I call them. Like I physically have to go in, or I have to finally call the manager and be
what
like,
year
"Look,
is this
dude,
GMC?
it's a 2010 GMC Acadia, which is a crap vehicle, anyways. Right. But
it's 13 years old.
I can't trade it in. Because, well, it's not running without the
13 years
ECM.
old, though, it shouldn't have that sort of issue.
It actually has a laundry list of issues.
I know, but you know what I mean? Like, the fact that it's not running at 13 years old.
But it's just an ECM that's keeping it from not running, right? But, so, they don't like to return phone calls.
Yeah.
I have to literally call and hound them to get a call back.
So what if you got this thing back to the house here, and we just started going online?
Because I looked up the tool. The tool is like $10,000.
No, I'm saying order an ECM.
I already have an ECM.
Oh, they need a tool for what?
They need a tool. It takes a dual channel Benford 1000 to install this ECM. Because they have to be able to read 2 channels instead of 1 when they're installing this to do something.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's weird. Whatever.
Isn't the ECMs normally plug and play? Any ECM I've ever put in is like...
These are not, apparently, because you actually have to plug them in and do your whatever on a computer. Whatever. I don't care.
They should always come up.
Either way, it forced me to have to buy a
weird.
vehicle. So it forced me to have to buy a vehicle because I couldn't keep driving a farm truck that was literally ready to fall apart out from under me at any given moment.
Yeah, it was a freebie.
So it forced me to buy a vehicle.
Yeah. How was that process of buying that car, by the way?
Actually, it was a very smooth process, but in hindsight, because hindsight's wonderful. If I could have got a better interest rate, which would have kept my payment maybe comparable to what it is now, I would have just bought a brand new Subaru instead of a Subaru that's a year old.
No,
but it's a good vehicle, great gas mileage. And it does everything I need it to do.
You know what's funny is now that they put this new transmission in my car, and I was driving back from Nashville with it, it gets amazing gas mileage right now. There must have been something really fucked up with that car because they put a new compressor for the air conditioner. They put a new transmission. They put a new oil cooler pump.
Yeah.
And the upper control arms and something else. Oh, the side marker lights. Which apparently they put the side marker lights in for free, even though I didn't think those would be covered in a warranty because it's an electronic device that could burn out. They did it for free.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So what? I
mean, they had it for like 2.5 weeks. So,
True. So how do you feel about like I guess you would call it liquor store attendance? Like an actual liquor store, not like going into a gas station and buying a regular bottle.
I've been to places where they're helpful.
Should they be helpful and knowledgeable about their products?
I would say at least one of them should be. If you're gonna have multiple people at the counter, because we've been to some places
Yeah.
where it's just like, one person or whatever, and they're just kind of there to fill a slot
Yep.
and register. do
Check
the
out what you
register.
want.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we've been other places, and they're very knowledgeable, which is great because then they turn us on to different bourbons or things we should try. I feel like if you're gonna work in an industry, no matter what it is, whether it's selling fucking carpet or selling cars or selling homes or whatever it is, if you're gonna be in that service industry, you should be knowledgeable on that.
Oh yes. I mean,
Because it's no different than in a gun store, right? And you walk into a gun store, most of those guys are gun enthusiasts that are behind the counter.
yeah.
Why would you have like somebody that hates guns or is an anti-gunner behind the gun counter?
But see, I think where
You wouldn't.
But you're talking more mom and
niche.
popish
No.
and more
I mean,
Cabela
there's-
and Bass Pro.
Still,
you
even
go-
at Cabela and Bass Pro, you don't have anybody behind the
I
counter.
agree,
that
but like I could go in Dick's or I could go in Academy Sports and just get some random Joe Schmo.
sometimes,
A lot of times, in my experience.
yeah, oftentimes they try to pick the people that have either a hunting background
Yeah.
or a fishing background.
Oh
or,
Lord! Don't ever go into Walmart sporting goods because
Yeah, I
you
know,
get
that
you
one-
get just you want to see this rifle?
Walmart is
and
the
then
worst.
they hand you a pump
Yeah.
shotgun, and I'm like, no, I wanted to see
No,
that
Walmart is-
rifle.
Walmart is the worst when it comes to that because when we were getting ammo, I was buying 30-30 or
Yeah.
whatever it was, and she's like, "Which one is that?" I was like, "It's right there."
This one, no,
No,
that
the
one,
one next to it that says 30-30. It's a Remington 30-30 right there, and then the Winchester 30-30. I'm like, there's fucking 3 brands right there that say 30-30.
I kind of look at it if I'm comparing like industries, right?
Yeah,
If a plumber, electrician, carpenter,
it
welder,
sounds like a funny joke.
anybody like that, right? You need, let's say you need plumbing work done, right?
What's her name?
You've got a water leak.
She's a squirter.
let's say
She's a
you-
squirter.
Let's say you got a water leak, right?
Right.
Are you calling? Are you gonna call a plumber and let the plumber fix it? And expect the plumber to actually fix it and do a good job?
Well, I don't
Or-
expect, but I hope. You know what I mean?
You know,
Like,
you
fuck.
hope, right? Or say the plumber comes in and let's actually, here you go. Better yet,
Yeah.
plumber comes in, tears out your wall, fixes the leak, but now you've got a torn out hole in your wall, right? And then leaves. Are you calling that plumber back to come in and fix that wall?
No, and I know where you're going with this story because this was back in the property.
No, this wasn't back on the
Jellicoe.
property. No.
Was that the guy that fucking tore a hole in it?
No. I'm
Oh.
asking you. If I come in your house as a plumber, right? I tear out your wall. I tear it out. And,
First of all, if you tear out my walls, we can
and,
have a conversation.
and I fix a leak, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I leave. I take your money for fixing the leak, and then I leave.
Yeah.
Are you calling me back to fix that wall?
No,
Why not?
because you already fucked up everything.
I would be calling your ass back and
Uh-huh.
wanting my money back.
I'm just gonna file.
I
a
mean,
complaint
granted, you're
somewhere.
gonna you're
I'm not
gonna go
calling you-
you're gonna go
I'm not
somewhere
calling
else,
you
right?
back. I'm gonna call.
But I'm saying
probably the
if you
company
pay them, right?
Yeah.
If you let's say you haven't paid me, you ain't gonna
Right.
pay me, right?
Right.
Exactly. You ain't gonna pay me because service ain't rendered. Hell no. You tore a hole in my wall and you didn't fix it. No, thank you.
No, thank you, sir.
You ain't gonna pay me. So why should I pay for bad service?
Well,
Right?
That's just-
You're not gonna pay for somebody to come in and do a bad job at your spot. So
yeah.
it's the same thing.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
I suppose so.
But nobody has to be a dick about it. Now, granted, somebody comes in and fucks up your house, you got every right to be a dick about it.
First of all, if you come in and you fuck something up, I'm gonna point it out.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been around long enough. I've had work here at the house and stuff that doesn't go the way I think it should.
Mhm.
I call them back.
Mhm.
I say, hey, man. You know, if they fuck it up, I don't call them back.
Yeah.
I call someone else. I'm like, nope. Clearly, they're incompetent.
Right.
I'll have someone else come in from a different company and figure it the fuck out and fix it.
It's funny though, because
But,
like
yeah.
we've talked about like the mowing,
Mm-hmm.
and it irks the living shit out of me every time I look at it when it's like 2 weeks later, I'm like, could the grass just be cut now? Could it any day now? Like, I don't know how many times I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get on the mower and I'm going to mow it. And I'm like, no, because as soon as I do, they'll show up and then they'll just charge because, oh, it was already cut. But, we came and cut it again. So I'm like.
Yeah, I mean.
But you're like, it works. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But
I'm not overly worried about it because.
But I grew up doing mowing and landscaping, so like it was a big thing for me. And I'm like, I can't stand to have grass like touch me below the knees. It's like,
first of all, it shouldn't be touching above your ankles.
Yeah, well, I agree.
But sometimes here we got these fucking weeds that be growing, and they be growing to like crazy heights. But
I will say that they mow it very well, though.
They do all right. Yeah. They do all right.
Weed eating, it leaves room for desire.
It's only $90, so I'm getting what I'm paying for.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm not too fucking worried about it, but could be worse.
Maybe I should just take the $90 and do it.
Yeah. Or I'll just save myself $90 and do it myself, which would also be done correctly.
But see, I could save you $90 and save myself $90 and do it for you.
$90.
But you wouldn't have to.
Yeah, because then I gotta fucking fill up the mower and sharpen the mower blades. But anyway, I think that's gonna wrap it up for us here at Bourbon Sauce. Thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, like, subscribe, share with your friends. The more you do those things, the better chances are we can grow the channel. Also, check out our Instagram page, www.instagram.com/bourbon sauce. That is where you can reach out, talk with us, comment on our posts, and see hints on upcoming episodes. Also, if you want some merchandise, we've got hats. They finally came in. You can reach us on bourbonsauce@gmail.com. We've got glasses. We've got coasters. We got the mostest for your boastest. But we appreciate you guys listening. Till next time, drink your favorite beverage and get sauced. Cheers.
Cheers.